pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
All right, savvy investors out there. Oh, shuck it ducks. Now, I know if you listen to a few podcasts and you're like, he always says this is a special treat. Well, damn it. This is a special treat. This guy's story, and his name is Ben Pietrowski, and hopefully I'll never say that again, but I'll do it one more time. Pietrowski, with the cool last name, from Michigan. Moved here 3.5 years ago, didn't know anyone. Why would you come from Michigan? But he has a better story because he'll give you way more details. Moved around the country, and then boom, landed here in Oklahoma, not because of a job, not because, there's tons of oceans and beautiful things going on here, because of the real estate market. This guy is a civil engineer by trade, but he, not anymore. He is a full-time real estate gangster mogul. So anyway, how I met Ben, you guys have heard the podcast with Mike Lewis, and Mike Lewis and I are on the same page, like mentally. We read the same books. We want to succeed. We want to grow. And he's like, you got to meet my friend Ben. And I'm like, okay. So I randomly called Ben one day, and Ben was like doing a couple wholesale deals in my neighborhood and try to connect me, and it was so integrity. He's like, listen, these are so skinny. Here's the phone numbers. You call them if you benefit from them. I liked something, but other than that, and I mean, we just connected. I was like, bro, we need to go to lunch, and so we went to lunch. And next thing you know, dude, every time I just see this guy, I just get motivated. And we've been talking for an hour before we even got on the radio, talking about books to read and all that other jazz. Anyway, enough of me. Ben, you got a great story. What the F? You're in Oklahoma. So walk us through your whole train of thinking. One day you woke up. I mean, if you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, everybody reads the book. But what got you to Oklahoma? Go.
Hey, first of all, Savvy, thanks for having me here, man. I appreciate the opportunity.
Right.
It's always uplifting to talk with you. I grew up in Michigan, hearing the same thing. A lot of people here go to school, get a good job, find a good company, take care of you, and take care of your retirement. Got a degree in civil engineering, got out in the field, was working in North Carolina for a while, and about a year into it, I just figured out this wasn't for me.
Is it going nowhere or just?
Going nowhere at 100 hours per week, getting paid for 40.
Because you're a salary.
Correct.
And what'd you do, a civil engineer, like bridges or something?
I was working for a company as a project manager, and we designed bridges, and we did grading work for new shopping centers where your anchor tenant might be a Target or a Lowe's or another big national anchor.
Okay.
So, and after hearing about Rich Dad Poor Dad for a year, I finally read the darn thing.
Okay, so you've heard about it, and then you just went and bought it?
I'd read Think and Grow Rich, and I sat on Rich Dad Poor Dad for a year, and when I finally heard about it, I couldn't put it down. I was reading it at work, and I couldn't sleep.
And your whole mind, like, the trick for me was like, I can be rich. Did you ever think? I mean, you were already educated. Did you ever think about being wealthy, like going up as a civil engineer, or you just wanted to serve people? Like, what was your motive for that job?
It wasn't in my paradigm. It was something I couldn't see that was even possible.
Right.
And once I saw it was possible, I couldn't shut it off.
Excellent. That's awesome. So, North Carolina, were you married at this time?
I was not. I was single, and I thought
Did you dating anybody?
Not really at the
time.
time.
Okay, right on. Okay, so North Carolina, then what?
I was looking, not finding.
Oh, we're always looking. Well, not now, but whatever.
So I got an opportunity from a friend who I'd met in a multi-level marketing company. He had a business out in California. He was looking for someone to manage this business. Okay. And I wanted to get into business. I wanted to learn about management, sales, and anything else I could learn. And he asked if I knew anybody, and at first I said, no, I don't know anybody. And about a week later, I had just the day from hell. And I worked, and I got my butt chewed out, and I'm up at 5 in the morning getting ready to go to the construction site, and I saw the infomercial for Kiyosaki. And I bought one of his programs, and I called my buddy back, and I said, are you still looking for somebody? And he said, yeah. I said, stop looking, I'm coming out.
Shut up.
And
what was the product? Do you remember?
Yeah, we're selling furniture.
Oh, okay.
Home furnishing warehouse. So I put everything I have in a U-Haul. I drive from North Carolina to California. I live in a warehouse when I first get there because I don't have enough money. I'm driving my parents crazy because they think I've lost my mind.
Or thrown away your education.
1 year into getting my degree.
100. Okay, this is a year after.
This is a year after.
So
I just had enough.
So you've only been at that civil job and this is a city civil? No, this is a private sector?
Private company.
Okay,
yeah.
So you've only been there for a couple months, a year, so almost a year?
Yeah, just about a year.
And then, so did you just put your 2 weeks notice in, or?
I put my 2 weeks notice in. I said,
I'm sorry.
I've got something I've got to try. I'm young and single, and it may or may not work out, but I got to scratch the itch.
Were they like you're dumb? Did they say anything like ridiculous to you?
Well, the first thing my boss said was, I don't see you as a furniture guy. And we became known as the furniture guys later in California because I got there and I learned how to do the business, and then I got an opportunity to start it on my own. And
Cool.
I started, built up to 3 locations, trained some really great managers who were friends, then had the opportunity to cash out, and that's when I moved to Oklahoma.
You know, that's interesting because I actually bought a property from a guy that owned a furniture place in California, but wanted to focus on that. How old were you at that time?
I would have been, that was between 24 and 30.
Cool, so you're still young. And
yeah.
Okay, so now you're in California, you sold this business, then what?
We had done, now when I say we, I've got my business partner, my best friend since high school, best man in our wedding, Jeremy Smith. We're business partners to this day. We had done research on different markets. We knew we were going into real estate. We'd had 2 failed bids to get into real estate previously when we really didn't know anything.
Cool.
And we looked at different markets around different parts of the country, Texas, some other Midwestern markets, and we liked the fundamentals economically here. And we thought this is a little further behind the appreciation we've seen in the Texas markets, and we thought we're a little bit early to the party here. We'd be late to the party if we went to Austin or Dallas or San Antonio, and we'd been through Oklahoma City once on a road trip before, and that was enough.
That's incredible. You remind me of a friend of mine in Nashville or in Chattanooga who moved from Orlando to Chattanooga because of the economic aspect of it, because they're building an Amazon and they build something else over there. Was there a defining product or industry? You just knew with the numbers that Oklahoma City would be a great place to invest. Was it cheap homes? Was it medium homes?
It was a combination of net positive population migration. So we got people moving here. We looked at what the plans were for the infrastructure with the freeway widening and the MAPS projects that were going on downtown.
Cool.
And then we saw low cost of living. And we also saw the real estate market was not hit as severe as places like Florida, California, Phoenix.
That's awesome.
So we liked all those factors.
Dude, that's the Chamber of Commerce to put you on a commercial. I moved here because of those things. That's what they preach all the time. All right, so you just drive out here. Are you married yet? Because I know you're married. You have one or a couple kids or something?
I've got 2 beautiful children now, and we were engaged to be married at that point.
And so what was her vibe? Like, what is wrong? And this is in California?
So we're in California. We flew out here in December of 2011, and we were here for 10 days. And our first day, we looked at 27 properties, all single-family residential, put in 27 offers.
Nice.
And we knew one agent who we met from cold calling, and then we knew a mortgage broker who we met from cold calling. And that was it. We had
2
zero
people.
Contacts here.
And 3.5 years later, you have 40 units. So we're going to have to work
Correct.
this out. You got to tell me more about this. All right, keep going. So you were engaged at this time?
I was engaged at the time, and I got to give California credit. It's beautiful. I didn't like the way it was going for running a business and the way that the costs were going. Sure. And we were actually
regulated.
Concerned about the water shortage, which is coming up now, 3.5 years later. But she wasn't on board, and we were not married at the time. And
so how'd you convince her?
I made the move.
You just did it without her?
I said, this is what we're doing.
Oh, and you were testing her. Are you going to follow me, or are you going to be with me?
Yeah,
you got to follow
I wasn't necessarily testing her, but I thought this is the best thing for our family, and I thank God every day that she came with me because she's the best, and I've put her through trials that we didn't know we were going through.
And now you have the freedom. I mean, it's just exciting to see the joy in your face of being in real estate, the freedom. And I mean, I've loved being on properties with you. That one wholesale deal you tried to sell me, that with the little brown house that was off the road, and I can just see the excitement in your eyes. I'm like, hey man, this is kind of skinny. You're like, oh, it's okay. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to do this deal. I got the finance in order. All right. So what was your first, so out of those 27 deals, how many did you pop any at that time?
We popped 1 or 2. Actually, we popped 2 out of those. One of them never closed because the seller just flat out refused to close. And the second one was a Bank of America foreclosure. We moved out here. We left January 3rd, drove out here. left fiance behind, and my business partner left his wife behind.
This is Jimmy, right?
Jeremy.
Okay.
Yeah, so Ben and Jeremy, kind of like Ben and Jerry, the ice cream guys, but we do
funny.
ugly houses. So we get out here, and the house couldn't close because Bank of America was dragging on the title work, so we stayed at the Value Place for 10 days, got started on the house, and we moved in. And this is a house that had no plumbing, no gas.
This is awesome.
We had electric. So if you've got any people who follow you who are hunters, this was like rehab or deer camp. Because it's me and my best friend. We're sleeping on twin mattresses opposite sides of this room. We've got no heat except for the little electric space heater, and I still have a picture of that to this day.
That's awesome.
And
you're in the middle of the country.
That was our first property, and we're in the middle of winter.
We're in middle of winter, in the middle of the country, all the way from beautiful California, with your beautiful fiance, and Jeremy is with his wife there. Were they friends as well? Your wives? I'm assuming they were, or your girlfriend.
Our friends, or our wives are friends. Yeah.
Cool. So they had some support each other.
Yep. So the two of us, the guys, are out here fixing up this first house in the middle of winter. No plumbing, so we're running to McDonald's to go to the bathroom, or running to the Gold's Gym to take a shower. And we fixed that thing in 17 days. And then we lived in it.
And you did all the work yourself?
We did all the work ourselves on that first one.
Cool. So then what? So what happened after that? When did you move? I mean, how many more deals did you do? Did you stay here did you go back and forth?
It was a one-way ticket when we moved here.
Burn the bridge behind you. Go ahead, Napoleon Hill.
It was scorched earth policy. So it took a month for my wife to come out, soon-to-be wife, and then 3 or 4 months for Jeremy's wife to come out. We bought that property cash. We bought this thing for $23,000. Cool. We put $13,000 into it, and afterwards it appraised for $75,000. And then we used that as, we didn't refinance it at the time, but we collateralized it and bought our first 5-plex.
Okay. Now, when you were doing this process, were you insecure, nervous? Did you think this was going to work? I mean, what kept you going? Especially sleeping on the floor with no heat. Like, you're just like, this is giddy. We're just going to do something that's never been done before. Like,
it was somewhere.
I mean, you've only visited here once before on a road trip, and now you're living next to going to McDonald's to go potty. I mean, it's just... I mean, it's awesome. I mean, it's such an American dream, you know. So many people have the same opportunity, but they don't take it. They're scared. They're nervous. And that's why I do the radio show. Hopefully someone's listening and like, look, this dude did it. Now, you've had some cash. I mean, you can borrow, you know, Max was on the show not too long ago. He borrowed his cash to buy houses on his credit card. I mean, I talked to another investor the other day. He hits $300,000 on credit cards buying houses. $300,000. Open lines. I mean, it's just, you can do anything, but there had to have been some low points. So how'd you overcome, or was it smooth? I mean, was it easy when you got that and you got the equity out and you bought the 5-plex and then you never looked back? What was the hurdle there? There
have been plenty of ups and downs and lots of different things I would have done different. But I think if there's anything I've got going for me,
a lot.
God has blessed me to be more persistent than I am smart.
Well, someone quote that man on that. We'll get a spelling of his name later. So true.
We were all in.
Persistence always wins.
We were all in from day one. And the thing that I tell people is, if you're going to get into real estate, you're going to get into any business, sooner or later the tide's going to go against you. And you have to figure out if you're committed or not.
Or you're going to hedge against it somehow.
Exactly.
You're going to walk away or get buried or fight the fight.
Yeah, but if you're committed, nothing stops you.
Right. Man, all right. So, okay. So let's jump into another deal. You know, savvy listeners out there, you know, I like to jump around. So, you know, Ben, I met you the one time, and it was great. Oh, man, you know, I was like, man, there's a connection here. Hopefully we can be friends and so on and so forth. So then I did the Savvy Bus Tour with Dutch. Apparently is a friend of yours too, which is my realtor, one of my realtors. And he's like, we got to put this house on the bus tour. And I'm like, where is this house? He's like, it's off of Western and 80th area. I was like, that's okay, but it's kind of on the edge of the ghetto, but it's also on the really kind of Nichols Hill side, and it's on near Waverly, which is called the Village. And so I was like, okay, we'll throw it on there. It's really cheap. He says it's a wholesale deal. Man, when and all the comps around there were like 130, 115. Dude, this is like a $40,000 house in my world, you know, property. Like when I looked it up before we went and looked at it, man, when I walked in this place, I I've never seen as much mold and destruction that I mean, you can't even stand in there. And when I called you when on the bus, and Dutch would not tell me your name because he was trying to flip it or ask some money inside. There was some kind of numbers in there that I was like, who's this whole? Because I'm like, Dutch, what's the deal? Is he going to sell it? I don't think he's going to sell this thing. It's impossible how can you sell this property? Well, after I beat up Dutch 10 times, he's like, well, the guy's got it under contract for a certain number. He's just trying to flip it. It's just a wholesale flip contract. Okay, that makes sense. There's really no risk there. But I'm like, and in class, we actually talked about this. I need to pull my notes up. Like, will this work? I mean, we took this as a case study in class, your property, which is even more bizarre. So we broke down the numbers. I'm like, there's no way. I wouldn't gut this whole thing out. I mean, because the risk of really getting $125,000 on a, 20, I think you were selling it for 20 something.
I think it was 32.
32. I'm assuming he had it under contract for 26. I just guessed, but he's like, what Dutch told me, he said like, he's gonna fix it up himself. He's got a good deal. He's gonna keep it and rehab it. I'm like, I gotta meet this dude that's gonna rehab this house or flip it. And anyway, he told me the other day, so what happened anyway, finally come to find out it was Ben again. I'm like, who is this Ben guy? And then whatever happened to that property?
That property, we ended up wholesaling.
Yeah, tell me all about it. Tell everybody about it. Like, how'd you get it? What'd you do with it? I mean, it was so bad, it should have been condemned. Would you agree? It
was in pretty rough shape, and we nickname all of our houses, that was the Swiss house, because there was holes in every single wall in the drywall.
The mold didn't affect you?
The mold was bad in the back corner, too. But what we liked about it, it was in a gray area. It was in the Nichols Hills Elementary. Now, if you get into middle and high school, you're going to be sending your kids off somewhere else.
John Marshall.
What I like to do is I'm always looking at the school districts.
Okay.
That's something that's part of my criteria, that I'm always looking for good school districts. And I'm starting to look at OKC now because the pendulum has gone so far to this direction that I'm watching what they're doing because I want to get in before people start moving back and want to be in those schools. But anyway, that property was a perfect example of what I like to do on a property is I like to have multiple exit strategies always.
Yes.
That property we had under contract for 26. We could have wholesaled it, which we did at 32. It was a double close, so I think we ended up making $4,000 when it was all said and done. So it wasn't a huge deal, but we had an appraisal on it that I think was $115 or $120.
Right.
We could have rehabbed to rent, or we could have rehabbed to sold. So I like to have 3 exit strategies, or at least 2 on every single property, because if I'm trying to wholesale something and it doesn't work out, I'm prepared to take it down and do it as a rental.
But your intention was just to flip it, just to flip the contract.
Correct.
How'd you get that? Did you market? Did you do just some traditional marketing to get that property, or was it a friend, or how'd you get that property?
That property was just a rare one on the MLS. I rarely see deals that are that good on the MLS, but what we did was it was a bank foreclosure, and I put in a cash offer with a very, very, very short close. I think we were 10-day close or 7-day close.
Yeah, that was another thing. And you closed in 10 days?
We did. And what I did was I used my line of credit that now I've drawn on properties that we have.
So you closed
so that we have the liquidity to take down a deal like that and then hold it if we need to.
I mean, I guess you can't go wrong in your mind. $26,000 for a structure, even if you had to gut it out within a high appraisal. See, what threw my game off was like that appraisal was outrageous. And I even contested that appraisal. Don't say the name of the appraiser. Okay. So what I'm just saying, like I beat Dutch up so bad on the bus. I mean, it was cutthroat. We were like, there's no way in the effing world, because the comps that I was pulling in that neighborhood were 86, 95, maybe on a blinged out crib, but not 115 or 120. Yeah. But there was some comps that were 2 streets over that were immaculate, 2,200 square foot house that were going for 120, 140. It was just a very bizarre location. It was a good deal. And did you ever panic at all?
Not really. I didn't really want to do the deal. We would have taken it down, though, and held it as a rental. But sometimes you get closer to that contract and you don't have a buyer. But what I ended up doing was I met a buyer who now has bought several homes from us.
Cool.
He's a great home buyer. But I had some friends who actually bought 2 streets to the south of that property a month before this one came up. And I knew what they were selling, what they could sell for. But you're right, this one was right on the line. We're 3 streets to the north. You're in the 80s. 2 streets to the south. you're in the 120s, 130s.
Right.
So it was really going to depend on which appraiser came in and what they were looking at.
And see, that's what scared me with the deal, because even if I got it for 32, I mean, at least 40 on a good day. I mean, do you know what the total rehab was? Has the guy rehabbed it already?
Yeah, he ended up rehabbing it, and it's kept as a rental, and I think he spent 40 on it.
Yeah, so he's got 75 in it, let's say, closing costs, not what is he renting it for, 1,000?
That I don't know.
Yeah, interesting. All right, cool. All right, so give us some advice. So you've been through this, you got 40 units. Let's talk about some banking. How do you get your funding, and where and how and who, and is it hard, difficult, frustrating? Tell me about your funding. Or how'd you start out? I mean, you just didn't show up with a bag of money.
No, when we started out, we had some cash from cashing out other assets, but we needed to retain some of that cash to live on.
Sure.
And we found one lender who would touch us. The Oklahoma lenders,
because you were out of state?
Because we moved from California, and a lot of the Oklahoma lenders do not like that C word.
Nope, you're right.
So we found one lender who would take a chance on us.
Well, can you say the name?
His name, John Pennington. He's with Bank First, the downtown branch.
Bank First?
Yes,
sir.
Sir.
Like the Class A bank?
You betcha. Yep. We came from a business background, and we showed them our executive summary that we had written when we moved here, and they took a chance on us, and we're still with them today.
Nice. I just got into Bank First. It's really weird. So you haven't worked another day job since you left?
No, I'm all in.
Okay. So you found a Class A bank, which is very rare, because what's the average house that you buy now?
I would say our average is between 50 and 70.
And is that what you hold?
That mainly? Is what we hold, yes.
Okay, and then you do a lot of wholesale deals as well. What's the price range on the wholesale deals?
We do wholesales in that range too. I did just wholesale one at $23,000. So
was it on the east side?
Lower. No, that was in Midwest City.
Man, you should have called me. No,
probably should have.
I'm buying. So if you have any houses for sale, call your boy Steven, the Savvy, because I get this anyway. I'm just playing. So, all right. So this is the only bank you've been working with, and I know we use the same appraiser. That was another thing that threw me over the edge on that one deal, because I really considered that deal. I like that area, and I was hot to trot. Especially it was on the bus tour. I wanted to say, hey, I bought this house. But then when I ran my numbers and my appraisal did not match up to your appraisal. Mm-hmm. And then I come to find out who the heck is your appraiser, and it was the same appraiser that I use. I mean, I didn't pull official appraisal because I didn't buy it. Is that the same appraiser that uses it for your bank?
It is, and to get back to the funding,
yes,
I don't like to be too reliant on one source. So what we've done is, as we built our business, and it depends on what deal comes in, we can either use our line of credit, we can use cash. Now, the only time we use cash is if we know we can get that money back out. So if we take down a house cash, we fix it, and we refinance it up to 70% is our number, get our money off the table. Then we use private money. And if it makes sense, I would consider still using hard money. We've got a couple relationships there, but I like to have as many options as possible.
Sure.
Because if some of my private money people get spooked and they say, well, I hear interest rates are going up or interest rates are going down or this or that's going to happen in the real estate market. I still have some who are out of state who lend to us from California. If they decide that they don't want to lend their money 1,500 miles away anymore, I've got to find a way to bridge that gap because I'm still continuing to bring in deals. So I like to be diversified in that, but the private money is the easiest.
Sure. Is that your favorite? That was my question. What do you like? What do you prefer?
That is absolutely my favorite. And some of our private lenders are friends.
Sure.
I would rather pay interest to
someone I love or like. Totally.
Exactly.
Well, what is the interest rate? What's the terms?
I don't mind giving people 10 to 12%. Some of my private lenders, I'll pay interest only, and I just use them as a bridge loan until I can fix it up and then refinance it with a local bank.
Is that an average of like 6 months, a year? What's the terms?
Generally, I'll do a 6 month with an option to renew.
Yeah, just in case you get slow.
Exactly, and they like it because they're getting interest only. They're getting a way better interest rate than they're getting anywhere else.
So is it true? I mean, I haven't done one private money transaction, but they loan you like 25 or 50 the first time, and then after you pay it back relatively, like the movies, it's like a Ponzi scheme. Do they really start loaning more?
They can, yeah.
I mean, have you found that? I mean, I'm just curious. Like, I mean, I really want to get into private money. I've had such great luck with banks, and I enjoy working with banks. But I'm at the edge where I need to start thinking about another source of funding. and private money's on my list, and I haven't really done a lot with it. But I know some people are slow. Like the last deal I did, they only did 15. I didn't ask for any more, but I know that if I asked for more, it would have been a little difficult. Has it been like that? Like, hey, I need 50 now. You pay that 50 back in 6 months. Do they come back and say, when are you going to borrow again? Have they been like? Has a private lender been aggressive?
They have not been aggressive, but they've been agreeable. And what I've found with some of my private lenders is they have started to count on having that income stream, because I'm protecting their principal. I'm paying them interest only. So I'll roll their money from one loan to one property to the next, while I use it as an acquisition bridge to get into long-term financing. But what I've found is, here's the 3 things that they like about lending on real estate. Number 1, it's a tangible asset. Mm-hmm. Some of the folks I'm dealing with don't want to have their money in the stock market or any of the financial markets right now. It's something they can drive out and look at. They can touch. They can knock on the door.
And they own it.
They can walk through if they want to. Number 2, it's insurable. So they've got something that they can insure. If a tornado comes, if it burns, if whatever happens, they're going to be made whole first, and they know that. And then the third thing, and these are my 3 selling points to them, is it's tangible, it's insurable, and we have equity in this property. So if you're loaning me $100,000 on a $100,000 property, I'm not asking you to bring in any more than 70.
Right.
So if this thing has to be liquidated for whatever reason, you will be made whole first.
That's awesome. Now, you use this all for short term, like for flips and stuff, or wholesale?
Correct.
What are you doing for long term? I mean, obviously you got 40 units. They're long term, correct?
Sure.
And what do you use a different type of funding? Do you use private money for long term?
Long term, I will. A lot of times we're taking the private money and then we're refinancing in with a bank. And I have recently found out Weoki Federal Credit Union. I've been doing business with them, and they are very business friendly at their Moore location.
Cool.
So, and they just did a commercial loan for us on a bundle.
That's awesome. Oh man, this is great. Wow. Okay, so it sounds easy. You're positive. What's one thing or a few things that you would do differently now, 3.5 years later? So let's recap. You moved here. We only know 2 people. You've purchased, probably done at least 10 or 15 wholesale deals or more?
More. Yeah.
Okay. So 20 something deals. You own 40. Incredible road so far. What have you learned that you would say, man, I'm not going to do that again?
If I had to do it again, when we moved here, we literally had 0 income. And we put more emphasis on building rental income, which is slower. So if I'm getting a house fixed up and then refinanced, rented it out, maybe I'm making $200 to $300 per door.
Sure. Slow.
It takes a lot of those to feed 2 families. So what I would have done is I would have put more emphasis on wholesale and flipping houses, and then maybe kept every 1 out of every 4. So flip, keep, or flip, keep, something like that. But I would have focused on getting those chunks of cash in.
It's reserves.
So that we didn't have to dip into our personal reserves as much when we came here. So we did it a little bit backwards.
But it's also, but the game is long-term wealth, and that's why you're holding them.
Absolutely.
And how do you decide on which ones to keep, which ones, that's why I'm not a wholesaler, because I want to buy everything. So, because everything makes money. I only buy assets that put money in my pocket, right? So when you see a wholesale deal, if it's an easy one, like that one that was $26,000, that's an easy one. It looks like it's a lot of work, $40,000. I'm busy. I don't got time for that. So that's an easy one to walk away from. I'll make $4,000 and move on, which I don't do that, but it sounds easy. How do you decide on which properties to keep and which ones to wholesale? There
are certain areas that I just don't have a comfort level buying in. I don't buy on the northeast side.
That's me.
Yep. So you're my guy if I get anything over there. And
sure.
A lot of times it just has to do with my workload. If right now we've got 8 projects going on, and I just got an offer accepted on another house, and we're going to wholesale that just because
we can't get it done.
I don't want to sit on holding costs for 3 months until I can get to it. I'd rather make a couple $1,000s wholesaling it, keep a buyer happy, they get a project, I move on down the road and get the next one.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, now tell us, how do you find contractors? That's a big integral part in especially rehabbing and fixing and repairing homes. How'd you find your team that you have now?
You got to date a lot. You've got to date quite a bit. We've got a list of all the princes who have turned into frogs, so to speak, and it's long, but always asking for referrals. Okay. You always got to be telling people what you're doing. I found a great referral on a paint and drywall guy from you. And
Cool.
he was slow with you at the time, and he came over and helped us on a lot of projects.
Jose?
Yeah, Jose.
Yep.
And he was helping us on a project a couple days ago.
Cool.
So
Yeah,
always
he
asking
came by here
for
yesterday
referrals.
looking for work.
Yeah, and when we get good guys, it behooves all of us to work together to keep them busy.
Sure. Excellent. All right. So referrals, getting it done there. All right. So now 3.5 years. I mean, you're not living super comfortable. I always forget when you have 40 units, it's like 20, right? And you're sharing it
Absolutely.
with Jeremy, which is a good thing. How's that business relationship with a partner? Do you guys have conflicts? How do you decide on who buys the house or who's looking for houses? Do you guys tell us about the structure of your business model? Does one person do this and you split stuff? How does that work?
We're really blessed to have, number one, incredible trust. We look at it as a marriage. I mean, people knock partnerships all the time, but
Yeah.
we're committed. And if we ever get to a point where it's not working out, the friendship is getting saved over the business relationship. That conversation's been had up front. But the key to successful partnership, and even with your contractors, we're partners on a project with our contractors. You got to have the tough conversations up front. Here's what I'm expecting of you. Here's what you should expect from me. I give you permission to hold me accountable. If I'm not holding up my end of the bargain, also I'm going to hold you accountable. And when you have people who are willing to live in that conversation and actually be held accountable, you can do great things. And for us, we're very fortunate that we have complementing skill sets and complementing interests. I handle more sales, acquisitions, finance, and our property management, and he handles our rehabs, construction, and then property maintenance. And we work real well together. We're all about best practice. What's the best idea? We don't need to feel good by, hey, I had the best idea today. What's going to be profitable?
What's going to get us done?
Yeah, what's going to feed the kids?
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's all
That's
about.
awesome, man. That's cool. That's your best friend as well. I think it's great to work with people that you love and enjoy. I'm fortunate to have a good staff here. All right, so we're going to wind this down because we can go on and on. Tell me what your goals are. I mean, is it a cash flow number, unit number? I've changed so much in my life, but what's your goals now, you and Jeremy? What do you guys want to do?
I'll tell you, we just hit a major milestone, which was set back in 2002 when we first got into multi-level marketing and started hearing the ideas about working for yourself, not working for somebody else. And we just got to the point where we can live off our rental income.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
So we got out of the rat race, so to speak, as Kiyosaki calls it.
I call it freedom, baby.
It's freedom. I mean, this morning I slept in for a little bit. I wrestled with my 2-year-old and let him throw me around. And there's nothing like being able to set your own schedule. So we got that, and that was huge. It brings goosebumps just to talk about it because we kept that dream alive for 12 years, 13 years it took to get it done. Through different businesses, we actually had a falling out where we didn't talk for a year. We were on the West Coast, and we kept it alive. We got it done together. We started that journey together, and that's huge.
It's big time, too. It's like just blood brothers dying on the floor. I had a similar experience, so I understand. All right, so let's talk about your wife. She's got to be living large now, mentally. She's happy, right? Is she stay-home mom or does she have a job?
She's stay-at-home mom, and she's getting ready to start a business of her own, but we wanted her to have the option to stay home, so we did that. Cool. And she knows who she married. She knows what she bought into.
Entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur.
She helps keep me balanced. She's my rock. She is irreplaceable. For what I've put her through and what we've been through together,
That's awesome, man.
I know I got the right one.
Dude, I'm super stoked for you. It's such a good lift for the day and for the week. Man, Ben, it's been a pleasure to get to know you and learn more about you. I think you have infinite amount of wisdom. I'm glad that you take my call and my texts.
Anytime.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate the opportunity for the deals as well. So if you feel comfortable enough, if you want to give out a phone number, that's great. If you don't, that's cool because it's cool like that. But if you have an email that, we can spam you at, it's really cool. I don't know if you heard the other episode, but some of the people that have been on the show have connected with people and like-minded, like Mike Lewis. That guy's awesome, and I know that we're going to start a group together, you and I and him, on a mastermind. I think it's really cool, uplifting, just even if we had a book club. I just think like-minded people need to be together and grow together. This is where I'm struggling with, and I know that you've been through a lot as well. So, with that said, do you want to share any kind of way to contact you?
I'd be happy to. And can I share one thing I've got on the top
Please,
of my head?
As much as you want.
For anyone who's getting started out, or some of us who have been going for a while, the thing to remember that has helped me get through in business is the concept of value. And so many times I see people getting into real estate going, what can I get? How many houses can I buy? How much money can I get? And the first question to ask is, how much can I give? What can I give to my lenders? How good of a collateral can I bring to them? How good of a borrower can I be? How good of a landlord can I be? How good of a partner can I be? How good of a boss can I be? So what I find is that when we put that value out in the world and we try to give more value than we receive, we end up getting back more anyway. But it's just, I see so many people, and one of the mistakes they make is just all they focus on is how much can I get?
How much can I get out of this deal? So what you're saying in a nutshell is create value for people.
Create value for other people, and
create
you will get value for yourself.
All right, that's the word of the week, value. Good job.
Appreciate
all right.
it. And my cell phone number, I'm still a
Dang,
Michigan
text
boy.
me up. Why?
517-410-0032. If anybody wants any help, wants to get coffee or whatever, hit me up.
That's a Bay Area number.
That's Michigan.
Oh, that's a Michigan phone number?
Yes,
all right,
sir.
do it again.
517-410-0032.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Ben Pietrowski. I messed it up. Pietrowski.
You got it. Like we've been friends our whole lives.
Anyway, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. If you want to get a hold of Ben, you should. He is a remarkable person. Man, I can't wait to interview him in a year from now, see how far he's grown, and probably he's going to be triple his units. I just speak that over him right now. He's got 40 today. He's going to have 120 in a year from now. So we're going to come back in a year and talk to Ben. If you want to email Ben, give him a call. Call him first, text him, get his email. If you want to ask him a question through me, you can text 545454, the word ASK, ask, and I'll get it to Ben. And I appreciate all the encouragement that you guys have done. Go to our website, savvyradioshow.com, and bring value to people.